Yo, what's up, guys? It's the Colonel. Today we're going to be going over how to set your Monero and P2Pool node up as services on Windows machines, and also how to set these up with Tailscale so that you can access them anywhere, and also connect your wallets to them. With that being said, we are going to be using NSSM non-sucking service manager to set Monero and P2Pool up as services. Why would you want to run Monero and P2Pool as services? This is so that once you have it configured the way that you would like, you don't have to mess with it anymore. Once your host machine or virtual machine or server, whatever you're running your Monero node on, once that machine boots up, Monero and P2Pool just start by themselves. You don't even have to log into your system, and if they ever fail or stop running, they restart themselves automatically, all without you having to do anything. And then why would we want to use Tailscale? Number one reason to use Tailscale is for NAT traversal. If you're using a residential internet service provider like Spectrum, you really can't do much peer-to-peer communication over the public internet. If you've ever tried to SSH or RDP into your public IP address, when you have like a Spectrum residential internet service provider and router modem combo, you would know that you can't really access your local home network from the outside. You have to be in your own home local network to access the resources available to you in your home network. So Tailscale helps with this. Everything goes through an encrypted WireGuard tunnel. This basically secures your network and secures your network data by default. Anything that's going through this WireGuard tunnel is encrypted and secured by default. That means even your internet service provider can't even see it. Even if it was going over the public internet, hackers and snoopers or anybody wouldn't be able to see that with this WireGuard tunnel going on. Also, you wouldn't have Tailscale has magic DNS, so you don't have to remember your public or even private IP addresses. Those can change dynamically from time to time without you even knowing. So magic DNS with Tailscale, just using domain names, honestly helps out a ton. So with all of that being said, all the boring parts being taken care of, let's get to installing Monero and P2Pool as services. Like I said, we are going to be using NSSM, non-sucking service manager, and honestly I find that it's easy and it works best to do through the command line. So anything that I do through the command line, I typically install through winget, which is Windows package manager. I guess one of Windows package manager, because you could also use the Microsoft Store. But if you use winget, it sets things in the path by default in the CLI. So you don't even have to remember where NSSM is to run the executable. You can just do NSSM in the CLI, and it just makes it a lot easier. With that being said, let's just go ahead and winget install NSSM, and then winget will go out and find NSSM and install that for us and get it set up for us automatically. You'll see command line alias added, NSSM path environment variable modified. Restart your shell now to use the new value. That means just close the window out and then open a new terminal, admin. I don't even think you need to do this as an admin, but I typically just do everything as an admin just because it makes my life a lot easier. I don't even have to think about it. So we have NSSM installed. We could honestly, I have all my Monero folders files and programs and on my desktop in a Monero folder that's excluded in my firewall, so that's also makes my life easier. We could run Monero D and P2Pool, the applications themselves, as services with NSSM, but you typically, if you're familiar with Monero and P2Pool and running those on a node, you typically have to do some command line configurations, or that's at least how I do it. So we're going to create batch files, and these are going to be batch files that basically just start Monero D and start P2Pool, and get those set up for us and running. And then we're going to install those batch files as services. So if you come down here, I already have a start Monero D batch file made. The only thing that I'm going to change with this batch file, because this is on a virtual machine, is I'm going to take add priority nodes. I'm going to take those out. And the only reason I'm doing that is because the default gateway for this virtual machine is a Windows host. And I don't even really have DNS on that Windows host. And I don't have port forwarding on that Windows host enabled. So this virtual machine, when it sends the DNS queries out for the priority nodes, it won't know where to look. It won't have those records to search for it. So for now, we're just going to keep those out of there. And then I'm going to copy this for now. And I'm going to show you how to create a batch file. Let's save that. Okay, so we're just going to come to new. We're going to create a new text document. And we're going to, let's call it start Monero D again. We'll just create a new one. All right. And then we're just going to open this text file up and edit it in Notepad. And I'm going to copy the contents of the other one. And I'm just going to run down what this means real quick. So this is the full path to Monero D, the Monero node, basically the program that we're going to be running. This is the full path to it. If you didn't want to do this full path, you could just make sure this batch file is in the same directory as Monero D, as you can see right here. As long as they're in the same directory, if you wanted to shorten this up a little bit, you could delete all of this. Just put a period. That period means this directory, basically, to keep it short and sweet. It means this directory. Search this directory, run Monero D exe. RPC bind IP binds your Monero node to any IP address associated with the machine that it is running on. So that can be the IP address for the local network. If you were using Ethernet or Wi-Fi, it would bind both of those IPs. And then when we add Tailscale, it's going to bind that Tailscale IP to the Monero node as well. Restricted RPC means anybody that's using your Monero node can't just control the node and shut it down and change things however they want to. Their connection is restricted. And then confirm external bind just means you want to actually let people connect to that Monero node externally. ZMQ publishing, I believe that's just like a messaging protocol that allows P2Pool and Monero to communicate to each other and send messages to each other. We have our out peers and in peers to help with efficiency for the Monero node. We would have the priority nodes, the XMR VBs, and then I forget which other one. I think it's Sec1's node that he runs himself. We would have those, but like I said, with double NAT and this being in a virtual machine, if you were running on two different networks, like an Ethernet and a Wi-Fi, and both of those were different networks, not the same network, you might have a little trouble with double NAT as well. So you could go ahead and take those out and just keep it like this is, and then enforce DNS checkpointing, and then enable DNS block list. Whatever DNS server you're using, it's just going to go ahead and pull the block list and ban list from those DNS servers and go ahead and block all those IPs associated with bad threat actors. These two shouldn't give us too much trouble, I don't believe. We'll keep an eye out for that, but we'll just go ahead and get started since we have this batch file all ready to go for us. We're going to save as, start Monero D. We want to make sure we're saving as all files .bat, and then for a bat file, for the command line to recognize it, you want to make sure you are using UTF-8 encoding. We're going to go ahead and save that. I'm sure it's going to say something already exists. Do you want to replace it? Yes, we do want to replace it, and I want to keep this one just to make sure. I am going to delete this text file and then double check this in Notepad to make sure it is the one that I want, and it is. Beautiful. So then we could come to P2Pool and basically do the same thing if we wanted to. I already have it built here. You would just edit it in Notepad. This is my wallet address. This is a dummy address. This is like a mining address that I did use, but I don't use it anymore. So feel free to take a look at it if you want to. I don't care too much about it. But then, like I said, we have P2Pool in this directory that P2Pool is in. We have that and the batch file in the same directory, so we could run P2Pool, find in this directory to run host, localhost. You could honestly change that to localhost and it would be the same thing. It should be the same thing as long as DNS is set up to work correctly, and you shouldn't have to worry about that. Honestly, you're gonna have your wallet space, your wallet address, and then the name of the pool that you are mining in. It's nano or mini. If you are in regular P2Pool, you can just delete this and take that out and you will be fine. And then you will do the save as, you know what I'm saying, the same thing, .bat, all files, UTF-8 encoding to make sure the command line can recognize it, and then boom, we already have that set up, so I'm not going to bore you any further. Since we have NSSM installed already via the command line, and an alias is already set up for us, the path variable is already set up for us, we're just going to go ahead and NSSM install start Monero D to install our Monero D batch file as a service that starts up without us having to do anything or even log in. We will take that start Monero D batch file that we created that launches the Monero D daemon, and we will just install service. Okay, beautiful. And then we will do the same thing with NSSM install start P2Pool. We will find our start P2Pool batch file, install that as a service. Beautiful. Now I do have the Monero daemon running right now in the background via the GUI application, so I'm just going to close that out, force stop, and then once we get start Monero D and then start P2Pool running on their own as services via the service manager, we're going to see if the GUI wallet just connects or if it tries to start the daemon on its own. That'll be our measure of success. So that is gone out and closed. We're going to go to task manager, maximize that, come to your services tab and open up services, and we're going to look for the services that we just created, those being, where are you at? Start Monero D and start P2Pool. Beautiful. So the first thing we're going to do, they is already set up to start up automatically. As soon as your host machine boots up, Monero D will be booting up with it as well. We just want to make sure we set the recovery to restart every time the program fails. We do have that set up. We want to do the same thing set up with P2Pool. make sure that it is able to recover itself. Once you have that set up, let's try to start Monero D and see if we run into any errors. No errors, beautiful. If we want to, we can come to our BitMonero folder where the blockchain lives and check our BitMonero log and see if everything is working good. Invalid DNS secure text record signature updates. Okay, no signatures. Okay, that's going on. That's just a warning. That shouldn't be too big of a problem. Let's just see how it goes. We have that going. We're gonna go ahead and start our P2Pool service and let that go. We're gonna give Monero D a second just to, you know what I'm saying, get itself set up and figure out what it needs to do. And then we might as well go ahead and close out of that and then try to open up whatever. Okay. And try to open up our GUI wallet again to see if it can communicate with the service already running or if it tries to start the node itself. I'll go ahead and log in and let's see what happens. Oh, it's connected. No. Oh, yeah. Look at that. It wanted to start it itself, but it's already connected and it's already synchronized. So that is our measure of success for those being installed as services. Now, like I said, this is a virtual machine, so anything on my local network wouldn't even be able to communicate with this thing because it is on a virtual network on a Windows host machine. I will say a Windows server that I have running just right across from me right now. But what we are going to do is get this set up with Tailscale, and then we are going to try to set up I have Cake Wallet set up on my laptop. We're going to try to see if we can connect the Cake Wallet on my laptop to the Tailscale address of this virtual machine that we create, so that we can sync the Cake Wallet on the laptop with this Monero node that we just created right now. Okay, so with that being said, let us come to Tailscale. I'm already logged into my Tailscale account. This mini zero is the host machine that I have running. We're going to create one for the virtual machine though. So we're just going to copy this link and we're just going to visit it. We're going to download Tailscale for Windows. And then we're going to run up the executable. The install executable, I agree. Install as admin, beautiful. Okay, so Tailscale looks like setup, beautiful. And then it's just gonna ask me to log in. Boom, I've logged in, connected, login successful. Now if we go to Tailscale machine, the dashboard again, we can see that we have WVM, which just stands for Windows Virtual Machine, added to our tailnet. So with that being done, I'm going to take this DNS name. This is my tailnet. I'm going to take this and I'm going to plug this into the Cake Wallet on my laptop. And then we will see if the Cake Wallet starts syncing with this Monero node that we have running on this machine right here. I'll get back to you guys in a second. Okay, so I've got my Cake Wallet open on my laptop. That's a part of my tailnet as well. I would have this normally as my node running, like I said, as the normal Windows host, but like that's not running right now. So if we check my wallet, nothing should be even syncing right now. If we try to do that, connecting, attempting sync, Nothing. Okay. So instead, let's go to nodes. Actually, it might be running just because this virtual machine is running on my Windows node. So I'm going to delete this. Or you know what? We might as well just go ahead and change it, since I can't delete it. It looks like we'll just do WVM, and instead of mini 0 that I have it as right now, we will change the address to the DNS address that we saw earlier for our virtual machine, that being WVM at our telnet. Automatically for peer-to-peer on a Monero node, it's going to use port 18081. If you want to change that, just like we did that RPC bind IP 0.0.0.0 for all interfaces, you could do a RPC bind port to any port that you really wanted to, as long as it was open. You could bind the Monero node, the Monero daemon, to that port. We have it, I didn't change that, so like I said, by default it's set to 18081. We are going to save this. Oh, it probably won't let me delete it because this is the last node that I have. That would make sense. We're going to do that. WVM. We have a green light. That's all I really need. That means this is synced. That means we're good to go on this. But in order to double check, I'm just going to open up another wallet that I have on here and see if this puppy syncs. Oh, you gotta hit unlock. 8077. Attempting sync. Talk to me. 8080. 7008. Okay, it's talking. It's syncing. So, with all that being said, that's how you set your Monero D and your P2Pool applications as services on a Windows host using NSSM, non-sucking service manager. And then how you set that, it doesn't have to be a VM. You can set this on just a laptop. You could set it on Termux on your phone. You could set it on another Windows or a Linux host. You could set it on a cloud server. Anywhere that you could set a Monero node up, you can more than likely set Tailscale up to, and just let those be able to communicate with each other and use the DNS name that comes with the associated ID on the telnet. But that's how you do all of that. This is my video, guys. This is my contribution to the Monero Society. It's been nice. Thank you all for watching. Have a good day.